Bartley, who is your player currently ranked inside the top 100, our top 100, who everyone's hyped about, but we're not really satisfied with him? Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I think you kind of gave it away. And I don't
Gio
know if you
Romo gave it away.
purposefully called me Jacob Barkley to to segue into this, but
Didn't even see that from the
Saquon
beginning.
Barkley is the guy that I'm rolling with, and I'll preface this by saying, there's a certain list that we base this on. I don't know if we want to name it, and I'm wondering, and the thing is that website they use, they use everybody, like a lot of fantasy analysts rank, and then it's a consensus ranking, right? It's not just from their website, it's from the entire fantasy community. Like, I believe there's, hundreds of them, right? So and then Saquon Barkley, I believe, is he in like the number 3 spot or he's in the top 5. And when I was looking at this top 100, I'm like, nothing sticks out to me like a sore thumb more than Saquon Barkley being in the top 5 for redraft. I think that's ridiculous. But what I'll say is before that is, look, I love Saquon Barkley. He's a great player. He's an absolutely amazing talent. I remember his rookie year. We started a new league that year. It was the Apocalypse League, RIP. And I drafted Saquon Barkley 104 his rookie year, and it was risky. It was very risky because there's a lot of good players on the board during this time, and I loved it. He did amazing his rookie season, right? And I think that was his healthiest season. So I love Saquon Barkley. I think he's absolutely incredible. Like, you tell me a perfect world where Saquon's paid, you can guarantee me he's not going to get injured. Like, I might take him over CMC. Like, but there are other circumstances. Look, he's on the franchise tag. We know there's drama going on. He's holding out. And I get it that when fantasy analysts are making their rankings, they're not considering that, right? Like, in their rankings right now. But me personally, like, let's just say hypothetically, for some reason, nobody should be drafting redraft right now. But just for argument's sake, let's just say that I'm drafting today. I'm not drafting Saquon Barkley. No way. For multiple reasons. I mean, unless he fell to me at the end of the first or something, which I don't think that's going to happen. But look, the contract situation, you never know how that's going to work out. Typically, we see the players return, right? We do have an example, which is an exception, where Le'Veon Bell held out for an entire year, didn't get paid the franchise tag money, which was huge money, ended up signing a long-term deal or a pretty hefty deal with the Jets. But like, if you look, like, that wasn't a smart move. He could have got paid a lot of money just for one season and then still went and signed a good deal, if not maybe a better one, if he did get injured, right? So we don't know how this situation is going to play out. I mean, there's the Josh Jacobs situation as well. I'm not sure if that's been resolved. I don't think it has. So that's
It has not.
what I'm worried about. But the thing is, by the time we're drafting and redraft, it's gonna we're gonna know he's holding out. We're gonna know if he re-signed a contract. We're gonna know if they worked it out somehow, right? So, we're doing this based on the rankings today, and if we're drafting today, and I would not be drafting Saquon Barkley. I'd rather invest in a sure thing, and also, there's this thing in fantasy football where, like, I don't know if it's a debate, but it's like, okay, it's not okay to call players injury prone or something. It's like offensive now or something because every player can get injured. It's football, right? But to me, like, I the way I'm going to explain it is how I actually draft. I am risk adverse. I do not draft risky players. I don't. And if you go look, if I'm not mistaken, has Saquon missed more games than he's played? If I'm not, I'm pretty sure that's the case.
I'll stat check it.
Yeah, if you can. If not, it's very close. Professional stats man over here. But but I'm just saying, like, there's a reason why he's missed so much time. And look, I like the Giants improved very much last year. Daniel Jones' improvement is only going to help. But also, Saquon, it's not like, and I don't want to be biased. I'm just using CMC as an example. He was doing this in Carolina. When CMC was the number one running back in fantasy, he's consistent, putting up over 20 points every single week, no matter what. Saquon Barkley isn't doing that. He has a lot of dud games if you go look at his box scores from last season. He has a lot of blow-up games too. But he's not necessarily consistent. So for all those reasons, the holdout, the injury risks, inconsistencies, like that offense is not going to be like elite, scoring a lot. They're gonna win by defense running the ball, which obviously that'll play into Saquon's abilities, but he gets a lot of his production from the pass game as well. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. I see a lot of defensive games, low scoring games, and in turn that leads to less possible production for Saquon. So don't get me wrong, I love Saquon, but I'm not investing a top 5 pick in Saquon. I'm going a wide receiver or one of those other top 2 or 3 running backs.
Oh, Jacob, that was tough to hear, man. That was tough to hear. I'm sorry. Honestly, we agree a lot. We really do. And we talked a little bit about it before the podcast about how, like, man, we need some more friction between us. We just need some really hot takes or something.
Has to be natural, though.
It does have to be natural. And finally, we see something that's natural, because I couldn't disagree with you more. And I'll preface this by saying, yes, in the leagues that we do play, Saquon Barkley, who's on my team, in a couple of those leagues, he's been on the block as of recently, and I've been trying to move him frequently with other people. So I don't want to say I'm a hypocrite in this situation, but I'm a little bit of a hypocrite. But one of the things you mentioned was a sure thing, right? You want to have sure things in fantasy football. After those top tier wide receivers, those running backs, man, Jacob, you and I know more than anybody, running backs are so valuable in fantasy football, but the wide receiver position over the last couple of years has seemed to like eclipse this, like the Justin Jeffersons, the Jamar Chases. We now see them going in the first 8-9 picks. We see guys like Tyreek Hill and Cooper Kupp. Even just 2 years ago, they were going in the first round. Well, obviously they're going in the first round now as well, but you get what I'm saying. Wide receivers are uber important. But man, Saquon Barkley, think about it. Okay, Jacob, think about this. Look at me. Last year, where were people drafting Saquon Barkley? I'll let you know. They were drafting him like in the second round. He fell far reaches of the second round, and people were snagging it out there. I sure did. And he had one of his best seasons to date since his rookie year. You asked about how many games he's missed. Well, really, it was just 2020. He missed almost all of 2020 except for 2 weeks. That's when he suffered the ACL tear. And then in 2021, he missed 3 games. Other than that, he's been playing. And last year, man, I mean, like top 4 running back in NFL. Now I get it. The big thing that's going to kind of deter people away in this moment is the contract negotiation system. That's why people are going to be deterred of drafting guys like Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, Joe Mixon, but he recently got his stuff figured out. But dude, like, okay, I love to play this game. Saquon Barkley or Amon-Ra St. Brown. They're both going around pick. Look, Saquon Barkley, this is according to NFC. This is like competitive draft ranking stat boards. So these rankings are really accurate, in my opinion. They kind of show the trends of where people that are like diehard fantasy football fans like us. So Saquon Barkley currently being drafted basically last pick of the first round right now. That means that you're taking, if you had to pick someone else in that range, it's like A.J. Brown, Jonathan Taylor, Garrett Wilson. You want all those guys over Saquon Barkley? Which I actually kind of agree. I would take most of those guys over Saquon Barkley. AJ Brown,
Okay.
Jonathan Taylor, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, Amon-Ra St. Brown. This guy's going a little bit after him.
Yeah, I mean, wait, did you ask a question?
Yeah, I'm saying, would you take those guys?
Oh, I mean, look, man. So the thing is, I don't know where this list is coming from all of a sudden because, like, on Fantasy Pros, right? They go CMC, Eckler, Saquon. Like, that's their rankings for PPR redraft, and I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like, I would obviously I would take Justin Jefferson, Bijan. I'll take Jonathan. Like, all right, so people have reservations about Jonathan Taylor. I think that is an interesting discussion. Like, I mean, the thing is, if Saquon wasn't holding out, then it's a lot closer, right? Like Saquon and JT. But I'm taking Jonathan Taylor 10 times out of 10 over Saquon Barkley. No doubt in my mind.
Well, folks, you heard it here first. 10 times out of 10, you're taking.
I'm taking Tony Pollard over Saquon.
Listen, what if there was no mention of the contract negotiations? What if he was signed, ready to go? Obviously, that's in the back of your mind. But if he's not, you're taking Saquon over.
So here's where I draw the line. So
you're taking him over Josh Jacobs.
I take CMC Eckler, obviously. I take Jonathan Taylor. I take Tony Pollard. And this is with no contract issues, right? Oof. I take Tony Pollard. I take Ramondre Stevenson over. This is where I draw the line. Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry. Okay. That's where I start to think about Saquon instead.
Zesty.
That's the range for me. Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs. Like, yeah, that's where I am.
For me, it's a little bit closer than that. I'd take Derrick Henry over him. I'd probably take I'd take Saquon Barkley over Derrick Henry. I'd take Saquon Barkley over Tony Pollard. But Bijan's, I think just because he's a rookie, there's a little bit of speculative there. But that's probably where
the rookies always the first round rookies always get that hype. Yeah.
Well, you heard it here first. Whose side are you taking? Jacob Barkley, Gabriel Miramontes? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below.